A lot of brisket videos talk extensively about trimming your brisket and wrapping your brisket. But in this case, we are neither trimming nor wrapping this brisket, and it still comes out pretty awesome. So let's talk about it. This is a 12-pound brisket that is untrimmed with a soy paste binder with seasoned salt and black pepper. Now, the two primary reasons for trimming your brisket is one, to save the tallow for other uses, and two, to ensure that you have this nice pink smoke ring throughout. The more you expose the meat to the smoke, the more you'll get that pink. But my opinion, that smoke ring is really more of an aesthetic thing than anything else. The smoke definitely gets absorbed by the fat, and actually, I posit that it's the rest time that really impacts the amount of smoke that sticks with the meat. I did a rib tip video the other day talking about wrapping your meat, and the main benefit to wrapping your meat is to ensure a very deterministic cooking time. However, in the process, you lose quite a bit of seasoning to the moisture that comes out, and so that's why foil boating is a popular process now. But you're still losing the seasoning at the bottom of the roast. And for those of you who say that that will lead to a dry brisket, well, Your Honor, I present Exhibit A. So let's talk about the setup they had for smoking this brisket in a kettle grill. And so what I have here is a extremely long snake that pretty much goes all the way around the whole entire 22-inch kettle in a 2x2 configuration with some pecan all on one end to smoke for the first 3 hours. And what I have here is an upside down bowl, and then I'm laying a 13 by 18 inch aluminum tray. And what the aluminum tray is actually going to do is going to shield the meat from just overly harsh heat from the fire, and also it'll help diffuse some of that heat. So for my long cooks, I always set my vent to pretty much as low as I can go on the bottom vent, and then the top vents either halfway or all the way open. Typically that gives me a range of 250 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, but this ended up being a mistake because this was at 10 o'clock at night, in which it smoked for a solid 8 hours through the night, and this is at 6:30 in the morning where I bring it up to see that the temperature went down to 190 degrees because it was 30 degrees outside, and there's no sun to actually give it some heat. So lesson learned there. Gonna have the vents a little bit wider open if I'm going to do an overnight cook, but it actually isn't that big of a deal because once the sun came out and it got warmer, it was a solid 280, 300 degrees throughout the rest of the day. And by the time it reached an internal temperature of 195 degrees, it was ready to go. So now is probably a good time to talk about probe tender. And when people talk about probe tenderness, a lot of times people are talking about, oh, when you take a probe thermometer and you insert it into the meat, it should go in and out like butter. Honestly, I think that that's a little bit too much. And it should still kind of give you a bit of a pull when you insert that probe. And instead of cooking it all the way until it's like butter, you're going to let that roast rest. And a lot of people, what they do is they wrap it in butcher paper and then wrap it in a towel and drop it into a cooler. But what I like to do is just drop it into a tray, cover it tightly with aluminum foil, and leave it in a oven with the warm setting on. After a minimum of 3 hours, then your roast is ready to carve. Some people actually let it rest overnight, and honestly, I think that actually allows for a better smoky flavor throughout the meat. You'll notice here, throughout this whole entire process, I started from 10 o'clock at night, and I'm carving this at 9:30 the next night. So probably the most important thing. Don't make promises when you're making your brisket. All right, so if you're still here, I hope that this video has convinced you to give not trimming and not wrapping your brisket a shot. If you've been smoking for a while and you have not given brisket a try, I would say the absolute most critical thing about this process is the rest period. Now, finally, if you just got a kettle grill or a smoker and you're like, I'm going to do brisket, I'm going to say, try something else first. And that's because brisket takes such a long time to cook and there's such a long resting period. There's just a lot of time for doubt to creep up and make you worry and maybe do things that might be a mistake. But here's the thing. You really, really need to trust the process. Trust the process in yourself of setting the temperature, trust yourself in being able to wait and just let it go to temp, being able to see whether the meat's gotten too dry too fast. If all of those things are things that you'll get experience by putting in the reps and smoking something way cheaper and faster. Once you've built up that trust in yourself, the whole world is your brisket.